On this episode of System Integrators Weekly, we're going to go back and take another look at Xotic PC, who, after seeing our video from a few weeks ago, have actually made a lot of changes on their website, and we're going to talk about it. All that and more on this episode of SI Weekly.
Let's go, nerds!
Hello everyone, I'm Brea Thorne. Welcome to SI Weekly, and it's the redemption arc. Perhaps, maybe, I think so. And this is honestly really awesome to see because, you know, I don't like making negative videos. I didn't like doing it for light, and I didn't like watching them shut down and all the fallout from that. I haven't enjoyed any of the videos that I made about Apex Gaming PCs, but mum's the word from them, not a single word to me, and only a comment that seemingly was deleted that made all these promises that they have not necessarily fulfilled, that also contradicted things that they were doing before that were in the video they were commenting on. But when I made the video about Xotic PC, they reached out to me and said, we're open to feedback. I've since then had 2 calls with them, with a representative from them, who has been super awesome, super receptive, and has agreed with me on many points. And we're actually going to go through the site and look at some of the changes they've made. Now, is it a finished job? No, not yet. And these things take time, but I understand that. So let's dive into that after I let you know that this video is sponsored by VIP CDK Deals.
The best place to go when you want to get yourself an OEM Windows license to get rid of that annoying watermark and unlock all the customization Windows has to offer. So instead of paying well over $100 for a retail version of Windows, you can get an OEM key for a fraction of the price. Plus, you can use my code BRE25 to get a nice fat discount off of the already discounted price. Keep in mind that this is an OEM key that gets attached to this system and cannot be used with another one or if you change your hardware. Make sure you get the right key for your operating system. For more information on how to use CDK Deals, click the link in the description saying here's how it works, and I'll walk you through the whole thing. Thank you, CDK Deals, for continuing to support the channel.
Now, before we get into it, we have some disclaimers to go over, and these are very important, so please pay attention. The first one is that this video is being recorded for May the 6th, 2024. Belated happy May the 4th be with you. Any pricing and availability that you see in this video is likely to change by the time you see it if you're not seeing it the day it comes out or the week it comes out or whatever. That's totally normal, and if you want to catch up on more up-to-date content, please check the channel. Just click my face right down there, or wait till the end of the video. I will pop up one of the more recent videos for you, so you can move on over to that. The next thing is that you're going to hear some opinions here, and opinions are great to have. We all have them, and they often will clash with each other's opinions. I've had some doozies in the comments, and I honestly like it that way. So please share your any dissenting or agreeing opinions in the comments below, or join the tech discussion in the tech discussion channel on our Discord, which is also linked in the description below. Now, the next one is that this is not financial advice, and I'm not here to tell you, I know your specific needs, viewer. You should buy this because it matches exactly what you want and your budget and your needs. No. That's not what these videos are for. These videos are for the purpose of helping you get to know pre-builts and the pre-built industry so that you can make an educated decision for yourself, okay? The last one is, for those of you who are pretty much settled that you want a pre-built PC, that's fine, that's awesome. It's a great way to get into PC gaming, and indeed, it's a great way to get into PC DIY as well. A lot of people who are heavy DIYers now started with the pre-built. And that includes big names like, you know, Jay's 2 Cents and Paul from Paul's Hardware. All started with the family PC, some pre-built computer, okay? But if you are on the fence as to whether you want to go with the pre-built or go DIY, you should heavily consider going DIY because it can save you a bunch of money. It is no mystery that it is cheaper to build a PC yourself, because when you buy a pre-built, you're paying for the service of having it built for you. You're paying for that warranty. You're going to be paying shipping and all of those things. So instead, if you build it yourself, you get free shipping on a lot of your parts, you end up building it yourself, and all of your budget can go into performance or aesthetics, or, well, ¿por qué no los dos? You can get aesthetics and performance if you're saving the money you would be paying towards getting it built for you. Now, this is not me saying anything against pre-builts. This is for those of you who are still trying to decide between DIY and pre-built, and for those of you who are ready to go in the comments say, did you know it's cheaper to build it yourself? Yeah, it's in the disclaimers that you probably skipped. So you didn't even hear me say this. So yeah, on I believe it was March 26th, I uploaded a video on Xotic PCs, and I had made comments about them prior to that, but as I expected, because I hadn't heard anything from them, I figured, you know what, if I want to catch their attention, I need to make a dedicated video, but also I want to let people know what I don't like about this, what's wrong with the site, and what I think could be fixed. It did work because they reached out to me shortly after that. Now, I want to talk about views really quick, how views work on this channel, because numbers don't tell the whole story. If you see a video of mine that gets maybe 4,000 views versus some other channel's review of a pre-built that gets 100,000 views or 500,000 views, most other channels are DIY centric. That's just the landscape when it comes to tech YouTube, PC centric YouTube channels. It's been the way it's been for how long has YouTube been a thing? For that entire time. If there's computer videos, they're mostly about DIY stuff. Probably about 80 or 90% of them are, okay? And no channels are dedicated to pre-built PCs except the one that you're watching right now. Now, because most channels are DIY centric, they sort of cultivate a culture and a community that is more focused on DIY, meaning their return viewers that are mostly coming in are going to look at that and say, oh, that's interesting. They reviewed a pre-built. Let's see if it's a bad review. Like, those are fun. Let's watch that or whatever, you know. So essentially, a video that gets 100,000 views about a pre-built PC on a DIY centric channel will have about as many people who are looking to buy a pre-built viewing that as I would if I got 10,000 views in a video or 5,000 views in a video, because I'm much more focused on pre-builts, and a lot of you guys are looking for a pre-built, and that's why you come to this channel. So just so you know, because if you look at views and stuff, if you care about that kind of thing, you might look at some of my videos and be like, but not that many people viewed it. Why would this company, why on earth would Xotic PCs look at your video that got like 4,000 views and say, we're going to change our website based on this? It's about having a focused audience. That's what that's about. And honestly, it's also about someone who is paying attention and scrutinizing these things, putting out a message of like, hey, I see this and this could be improved. And them saying like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And that is so good to see, because I don't want companies to shut down. I don't want people to lose their jobs who like what they do or who are trying to feed their families, or I mean, both, right? And I don't want customers who have bought from these companies to lose the warranties that they have. And we will talk about Xotic's warranty, because there's something I didn't even know about it that now is front and center, and you'll see what we're talking about. This is some of the great stuff that happens when I'm able to get a direct line of communication and give feedback, because it's something they should have been doing all along. Sad situation of light gaming PCs was never what I wanted. I'm not out here trying to get views by making negative content. I like making content that is largely positive when it comes to pre-builts, because the dialogue has mostly been negative. But that doesn't mean I want companies to be shut down just because they're speccing out computers improperly, or they have bad marketing practices or whatever. That is not what I want. I want to see change for the better. And sometimes companies, when they've been running for a long time, whoever's designing their website has been staring at this website for so long, or maybe whoever's speccing out the PCs is just like, yeah, this is fine. But that outside scrutiny, a fresh pair of eyes on their work, can often be a really nice thing to have. And I've been asked before, hey, if you're doing consultation for companies like this, how much do you charge for that? I don't charge anything. I don't want money for that. First off, it's a system integrator, and I'm always careful when it comes to any kind of sponsorship or anything like that with system integrators or any money changing hands, because I have a show called SI Weekly. I don't want any conflicts of interest. There are some things where I have to adapt a bit, and that's just part of doing what I do. But you'll never see an SI Weekly episode, one of these standard episodes where I'm talking about system integrators that is sponsored by a system integrator. I can't do that. But I don't charge for consultation. And the main reason is because it helps you guys. If I'm able to take a look at these websites, because I basically look at system integrator websites, configurators, all that stuff for a living now. I'm able to give a much more broad view, but also I see the details. This is the kind of stuff that I didn't think that I would get to a point where I could look at a configurator and be like, hey, that looks like it's wrong. Was that a typo? And yeah, it was. I'll tell you what I'm talking about when we get to that point, but it's really, really kind of an interesting process. And I know I'm talking a little too much about this, but there were several times in in the 2 meetings that I've had with Xotic PCs that they were like, you know what? That's not supposed to be like that. Let's get that fixed. Or they're like, you know what? I've been saying that for a while. Let's get that fixed. It makes me really happy to see that. I will gladly go back and put a pinned comment or something on that previous video, change the title, put updated and put read pinned comment or whatever in the title. I don't care if it messes with the viewership later on. I want to show appreciation for a company that will take constructive criticism for what it is and use that as a launching pad to make improvements. That's amazing. That makes me really happy. So if you are if you're open to that too, we're going to take a look at some of these things and we'll see how the narrative is shifting. It's like a paradigm shift for Xotic PC, and I could not be happier. So let's get into it and take a look at what they've done so far. Now, one of the first things that I criticized was the fact that you could look at these PCs here and without knowing anything but what it's called and maybe what it's looked like, just add it to cart. And when I brought that up, their rep told me that doesn't seem right. I think that's supposed to just take you to see more info. And then I showed, no, this adds it directly to the cart and you can just buy it just like that without knowing anything that's in it and without knowing that it's not going to look like this when you get it. And they removed that. It is just gone. It is completely gone. They were very responsive about that one. They were just like, nope, that's a very good point. We don't want them to be able to do that. We want them to know exactly what they're buying. Now, one thing that did bother me was that this image right here is not denoted in any way, saying something like that this shows options, that this is pictured with upgrades, or that the image may not, that the product image is for a custom build that may not reflect what the customer actually gets. So they did add that in, but apparently there were some formatting issues where they could not get it right here under the image. So it's all the way down here, images shown with additional options selected. I would like them to sort of revisit this, see if maybe there's some way to do that, or for the headline image, for the main image, actually just put it on the image itself. But yeah, they're working on the formatting. They're working on getting that to where it is clearly visible. Another thing that they changed, they mentioned their lifetime warranty. And I was like, you guys have a lifetime warranty? Where is that? Where is that listed? And I just go and I started looking through the site as we were in our meeting. And I was like, I had no idea that you guys were one of the few system integrators that has a lifetime warranty. That is extremely rare. And he was like, yeah. I was like, put that at the top. That needs to be known. People need to see that. Should be one of the, you guys should be bragging about that. And sure enough, there it is. Lifetime parts and labor warranty. It looks like a little checkbox, but you can't deselect it. And why would you? Lifetime parts and labor limited warranty included on every desktop PC. Now, if you're like, oh, but Bray, there's fine print. Every warranty has fine print and will likely say some things that would surprise you. Like, oh, if you modify this, you could void your warranty. Well, yeah, they're going to say that because some people will do some crazy mods and then blame the PC company when it doesn't work. Usually anything you see in fine print there's a story behind how it got there. Or it's just sort of bog standard legalese. Now, there is something that we couldn't immediately like agree on, and they're still sort of working with it a bit. Okay. And that is, if we go to desktops and view all, you're going to notice something here as we're browsing. Okay. So this is their optimal series gaming desktops. They're more budget oriented, sort of less fluff. They're not really as like dedicated to aesthetics on these, like obsessively, like on some of the higher end ones. Okay. So we're looking at pricing like $669, nice, $709, and $719. These all say starting at. All right, that's your budget desktops. That makes sense. And you can customize these to add parts and make them more, performant. And they start though with no dedicated graphics, just using a Ryzen 5600G for the graphics and the CPU. I mean, it's a CPU with graphics integrated. So what happens though to the pricing when you're like, no, I need something more advanced? Well, this is their advanced series, and you'll notice the pricing is still really low. Interesting. Starting at $779, $739, which is lower than this one, but it's in the middle there instead of being on the left. But okay, it's not in order, but fine. And $979. That does not look like a $979 PC, does it? Well, that's because if you spend $979 on this, that's not what you get. Of course, as stated before, they're working on placement for the messaging on that the photo might not reflect the actual thing you get, or whatever their wording is. But okay, that's a little weird. And if you click on these, you'll find that they're still powered for CPU and GPU by the Ryzen 5600G. If we move on, this is when the extreme ones come in. And extreme is when you think like, oh, this is this is me. I got a budget of $2,500, $3,000, whatever. I want to get into some extreme gaming, 4K kind of gaming, stuff like, oh, wait a second. 819, 849, 959. Not super extreme. And then, yeah, Ultimate Series, 1279, 1149, and 879. Now, it's not that they have insane crazy pricing, and you can actually get something in the Asus ROG Hyperion case with the Asus ROG Strix GPU, 4090 looks like in this one, for $1149. Every one of these has the same default specs, and that's just the way their site is programmed. And you got to understand, it's a bit much for me to ask them, hey, can you change the entire formatting of your site, the way that everything works? It just doesn't feel right to me. It still does not. Like, I don't think that if you're looking at something that is an extreme series gaming desktop, that it should have even the 5600G included as an option. And I mean, when you're talking about something like the Asus ROG Hyperion case for their Ultimate Series gaming desktops, well, if we look at the Asus ROG Hyperion case, it's on sale right now. This is the Asus storefront here. But this is a $500. Originally, this is a $500 PC case. And there is no reality where I would ever recommend someone spend half their budget for their PC on the case, right? And this is something I mentioned in the video before. Like, why is it that there is even the option to go in here and buy this, in this case, with those parts? Now, this changes the language too. It says as low as instead of starting at for the ultimate ones. But if we hit customize and more info, you'll find this behind it. You'll find 3 pre-configured systems. There is the essential, the extreme, and the ultimate. Okay. And these are more reasonable. This is like spending actual money that you would on something in a case like this. You know, spending $500 on a case for a $3,500 PC could make a little bit more sense. I still take a bit of issue with their default specs. I think there's for some of these there's too much CPU and not enough GPU. But looking at the Ultimate and the Extreme, 4080 Super over here, 4070 Super is a bit weak for $3,500. That should be like 4070 Ti Super. But look, this has a 14900K. Kind of crazy. The fact that this is the Extreme, but there's one that's a higher level, and this one has a cheaper CPU in it. This is one of the things, though. I pointed this out during our meeting, and they were like, oh, no, that's supposed to be an i7. And I think that changes the pricing down, too. So there's certain things like that. But I still think if you're doing a straight-up gaming PC, you don't need an i7 or an i9. A 14600K or KF or 7800X 3D, because these are going to come in at similar price points, are more than enough, and you put more money towards your GPU. I think this should be pushed up to 4070 Ti Super for this price, basically. And if shuffling some things around, that could be a possibility. Make this an i5 and put a 4070 Ti Super in there. There you go. So these exist right here. You have some default specs, but the price that's shown on that page is $1149. And that is the as low as price. That's different for the Ultimate ones, right? And you go to customize, and you'll see that this one actually has a dedicated GPU with an RTX 3050. Would you spend more on your case than you do on your graphics card? Because the 3050 is vastly cheaper than the Hyperion case. You can just add this thing to your cart like this. And the performance that you're getting out of it with the 13100F and the 3050, it's not going to match the looks of the PC. You know what I mean? Personally, and you guys let me know if you agree with me on this. I know that they have a system, right? It's like, okay, we have these default specs, and they are slightly different here where there's an actual dedicated GPU, but they start with these really low default specs, and then they expect the customer to upgrade those. And if we look, there are these these systems that are pre-configured. You cannot customize anything in these. So what do you guys think? Should there even be a low default spec like this? Should they raise the default spec in the customizer, where it starts it out at? Or should they instead get rid of this, just have these, and run it that way, but allow you to customize each of these? That's more work. That's definitely more work to do on the website. But I want to know what you guys think. Let's talk a little bit about the TikTok PC, because this came up in our most recent conversation. So when a customer doesn't quite know what they want with Xotic PCs, they have it completely open to the customer to reach out to them, either through the little chat box or through ticking something when they're going to be purchasing something. And when that purchase comes through, it'll be flagged like, hey, they want to talk to somebody after they've made their purchase to maybe make some changes, things like that. And one thing that they get from people when they're directly communicating with them is they're like, I don't care what's in it. I want it to look like this and look like that. And I think what my response to that was when I was being told this is I was like, this is TikTok. It's the TikTok PC. It's what they want. Or, okay, YouTube too. All this check out my setup kind of videos, and they show off how good the PC looks. But those PCs are generally, it's a $4,000 or $5,000 PC, and the average person can't afford that. Of course, I couldn't. I personally couldn't. I couldn't do that. So what people are being encouraged to do indirectly is to get the PC that looks like that. But all the if you spend the extra on getting a really baller case, lots of RGB, this and that, and the specs come second. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, this mentality is probably making you cringe into infinity. I know what happened to me when I realized that because I was told that this happens actually more frequently than I might assume. But it's a real thing. When you think about it, with all the stuff that's on TikTok with certain creators and how they just talk about setup aesthetics and show off this and show off that, set up makeovers and all this kind of stuff. And it's cool and it's fun. And I watch that stuff and that's cool. But for me, I know the internals of a PC. I know the costs of components. I know all that stuff. So I look at that and I'm like, that's expensive and that's something to aspire to, but it's not where you start. But it's turning out that a lot of people are wanting to start that way. It makes me realize that I honestly should probably be on TikTok more. Maybe we can shift the narrative a little bit back to performance focused, because when people imagine PC gaming, they see it being better than console. But if you're getting just like a basic APU, like a Ryzen 5600G, it could be a good place to start off, but it's not necessarily going to be better than a console would. And it will cost more than a console. There's upgradability there, and that's good. But when someone is spending hundreds or thousands of dollars, it doesn't matter what their budget is. That's still a lot of money. They need to get an experience that is going to be as close to what they're expecting as possible. And here's how I like to say it, because I have to answer to this a lot. When people are coming to the streams, which are every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube and also at twitch.tv/Brayathorn, I help people out one-on-one. They fill out a form, tell me what their budget and their use case is, like if they're going to be doing just gaming or they're going to be streaming as well, or they're doing graphic design or whatever, video editing, and I'm able to help them find what's right for them. But here's something that I like to say, because sometimes I see someone come with a budget that says less than $1,000 and they want to do 4K gaming and video editing and also streaming, and they also want to do music production. And I'm like, hold off. We're not going to start out to where you can do all that stuff right away. We got to figure this out. What I say is this. So here's your budget. Here's your expectations. Okay. If your budget is up here and your expectations are down here, you're good. Like, you're going to have a great time. In fact, you can even bring your budget down, right? If they're even, you're also good. You have your budget that's going to match your thing. Like, I got a budget of $1,500. I want to do 1440p gaming only. Perfect. Like, you're good. That's not a problem. But if your budget is here and your expectations are here, one of two things needs to happen. Either your budget needs to come up or your expectations need to come down. They need to be balanced. And when you have this major focus on aesthetics, that costs money, and it's taking away from the performance of the PC. Now, PCs are upgradable. I know that. And I want you guys to know that and learn that, which is why we're doing pre-built rebuild. But there's also, in pre-built rebuild, going to be videos about improving the PC aesthetically. So you don't have to get it like that right from the start. In fact, think of it like a blank canvas. Get it to work as well as possible, to perform its function first. Then you can look at aesthetics. Unless your budget is up here and your expectations are down here, in which case do whatever the heck you want. But it does help me to understand something when it comes to their ready to ship systems, which I took major issue with in that past video. Let's take a look. So right here, this is one that I heavily criticized, and actually there were quite a few that I heavily criticized. And in our second conversation, I was told, yes, we know we are doing something about the 4060 thing. In their ready to ship systems, they use a lot of 4060s. And I'm talking about even in PCs that are well above the price tag where a 4060 should ever be considered. So like, there's an example. There's this Y40 Ghost ready to ship. Okay. Really gorgeous looking PC, right? And it's got a 14700 KF. So that is a 20 core CPU with very high frequencies, the ability to overclock, all that stuff. And then a 4060, and the overall price being $2,200. But when you think about it, about the whole thing about the TikTok PC, this starts to make sense. Although I don't know why they would put that much CPU into that. It starts to make sense. Yeah, they want that i7 and they want NVIDIA and they want it to look a certain way. This is that product for that customer. And when I was told that these are all sorted by how many of them sell, which when they say best selling, that means that this is the second top selling PC out of all of their ready to ship systems. And when I was told that, I was a sad bray, because that is $2,200 down from $2,309, and it has a 4060 in it. Now, is the GPU one of the easiest things to upgrade in the PC? Yeah, it is. And this is very well set up to upgrade to a 50 series card when those come out, which might be this year. We'll find out in a few weeks at Computex. Now I understand, after that was explained to me. And also now there's a newer version of this, and that's down here. It's one they recently added, and that is the Ghost Extreme, and it is a few $100s more, but it comes with a 4070 Super. There you go. They also heard my complaints loud and clear about the ProArt system coming with a 4060 for over $3,000. That's been bumped up to a 4070 Super. But yeah, there's also another Y40 Ghost Premier 4070 Super, but this has an i5. This one's $2,319. So let's think about this for a second. $2,319 with a 4070 Super and a step down on the CPU to the i5, which is great for 1440p gaming. I mean, that's that, and also for, you know, multitasking, things like that. It's still an F SKU, so not super great for video editing, but I mean, I know that QuickSync isn't everything. All right, don't worry. I hear you about that, but like, it's still supposed to be optimized because that's what SIs are supposed to do. Anyways, so this for $2,319 with a 4070 Super and a step down on the CPU, or for $20 less, you get a 4060 and a step up in the CPU. So does that make sense? No, I don't know why. I'm glad there's only one left. Please don't restock this one. Okay, just move on to these right here. At this being $20 more, I promise you this thing is going to be a lot more popular. Okay, there were also some other things we talked about. I mentioned that in this Vision Ultimate ready to ship, it appeared as though they set up their side intake fans as exhaust fans instead. And he was like, oh yeah, it looks like those are exhaust fans. And I highly recommended to them that they use reverse flow Li & Li Infinity fans, because that's what these are. And they make those. So they're going to try that out, because I also pointed out that in this other Vision system, they're using, I think, a very smart move here. They're using the Montech reverse flow fans. And I think that that's a great choice. Here's what matters. Okay. We're having this dialogue, which is awesome. And they're receptive to these things. They're listening. The whole point of this video is to share that with you. And I already said, they're not done. It is not a fast process to change the way you do things. This is me sharing some of that conversation with you, basically. I'm sharing sort of like the direction they're going in. And I've got to tell you that just hearing this and knowing that these guys have a lifetime warranty that they're proud of having, you know, and they do their best to back it up. They do things like putting in, you know, cable extensions for aesthetics and things like that. They do care about the PCs that they're building. It's just that there were some, well, a lot of people requesting lower specs with a lot of aesthetics. I can't fault them for selling what people wanted to buy. But here's one thing that I recommended that I think I'm going to see, and I mentioned this already to them, as a kind of a must here. If they're going to do this, sell PCs for over $2,000 that have an entry-level GPU, like the 4060. They need to have a sentence that says what it can do. As in, highly aesthetic gaming PC for 1080p gaming. Bam, done. Put a 4070 Super in there, 1440p gaming. You put in a non-F SKU Intel processor that can do QuickSync, and you put some really solid RAM in the system, streaming and content creation, as long as the motherboard has good I/O too. I mean, seriously, that kind of information right up front is the kind of transparency I could get behind 100%. And I'd love to see that. And they're open to the idea. He was like, I think we had something like that in the works already. So he's going to check on it and get back to me. And I think that that would make a huge difference in the perception of the system, because someone's going to go in and say, yes, I saw something like this on TikTok or an Instagram reel, and this is exactly what I had in mind. This is exactly what I was envisioning. And I'm going to buy this 4K monitor and blah, blah. Wait, that says 1080p gaming. Huh. Maybe I should start thinking about the performance of the system versus the aesthetics. I mean, maybe it'll even spark that inner dialogue there. I don't know. And they're on board with sort of changing the way they approach stuff. And they want to be the best system integrator they can be. Guess what I want? I want that for them too. Because who does that help? You guys. One thing we discussed was, and this, I don't know if this will go anywhere, but apparently for the longest time, they were more focused on laptops. Laptop sales were the lion's share of what they did. And the desktop gaming PCs thing is only a thing from the last few years. So I'd be very interested to sort of see what kind of experience you could get getting laptop from an SI. I've never had an SI send me a laptop, actually. Because part of their lifetime warranty is in this. And I got to tell you, a lifetime warranty sounds a lot more compelling when it's something you might be carrying around. So I know that generally I unbox and review full desktop PCs, but if you guys, well, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. If you guys are interested in seeing how this story progresses, as interested as I am in that, let me ask you a favor, because I know Xotic PC is going to be checking out the comments on this one, okay? What would you like to see for a review? Let's give you some options, all right? We could be looking at a budget or mid-range desktop PC. We could ask them to do their absolute best and throw down with an insane top-level PC to say like, oh, this is how they do at the top of their game. Bam. This is Xotic PCs. Here you go. Whatever. Right? Or we could do a laptop review. Not really the bread and butter of this channel, but why shouldn't it be? Laptops are pre-built, right? And now with Framework being in the picture, you can DIY build a laptop. And they're also upgradable too. So what do you guys think? I'd like to know what you would like to see in this ongoing dialogue between me and Xotic PCs as they're improving things, as they're making changes, showing that they're willing to say, you know what? We could be better. Let's be better. Now, I know that there's stuff that I'm leaving out. There are some things I probably forgot from our conversation, things like that. But this was just meant to be sort of an update, a positive note, letting you know what's going on behind the scenes and giving you something to look forward to, because everybody loves a good redemption arc, right? Anyway, that's really it for this video. I just could not wait to tell you guys about that because it is super exciting. I do have one more major update for you guys. If you watched last week's video and you heard me talk about the GoFundMe thing and Computex and how we're trying to make it out there, I do have an update. We are going to be making it out there, and that is absolutely insane. I broke down when I found out that we'd be able to go out there, but it is not going to be through the GoFundMe, and I was right to hesitate to do that. It is way too much to ask you guys to send myself and Mr. Cuddles over to Taiwan. The flights are too expensive. The hotel's too expensive for that. So we're going to be shutting down the GoFundMe, and I'm going to be refunding any pledges that were made. Those who did, there weren't many, but those who did, thank you so much. I know more of you would if you could have. Times are tough right now, and I don't want to take anything out of y'all's pockets, especially if you're trying to get yourself a PC. I will remind you guys that Computex is coming up. That's the event I'm talking about going to right now. And there are going to be new CPUs from AMD announced there. So I'm not recommending you buy anything at this very moment because we are a few short weeks away from finding out when those are going to launch, and they could be launching really close to the announcement. So I know SIs probably don't want to hear me say this, but it's a good time to wait and see. And I know that I'm not the only one saying that. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate all of you. And until the next one, take care.